In the quiet village of Tongora, where the river whispered ancient songs to the rocks and the winds carried tales older than memory, there lived a girl named Nia. Nia was not like the others in Tongora. She had no parents, no siblings, and no memory of where she had come from. Her hut sat alone on the edge of the riverbank, built from sun-dried clay and woven reeds. The villagers whispered about her, not unkindly, calling her the river orphan. But to those who truly knew her, Nia was a gentle soul, beloved for her quiet heart, her healing touch, and her ability to coax life from herbs most had forgotten the names of. Each morning, with the sun painting gold on the river's surface, Nia would venture into the surrounding forest. She carried a woven satchel, soft from years of use, and picked leaves, roots, and petals with careful hands. She had learned from an old woman long gone, Mama Wura, who once lived deeper in the woods and claimed to speak with trees. Nia still remembered Mama Wura's voice, low and sure, the plant will tell you if it's ready. Don't ever force it, child. That's how you wake things better left sleeping. The villagers came to Nia with their fevers and burns, their bruises and broken hearts. She gave her remedies freely and asked for nothing in return. Sometimes they left fruits or pieces of cloth as thanks. She accepted everything with a small smile and a bowed head. But when night fell, Nia returned to her hut, and the world felt different. At first, it had been barely noticeable, a strange warmth on the mat beside her. She'd reach out instinctively, but her hand would land on woven palm fibers and nothing more. She dismissed it as a dream, perhaps the aftertaste of the sun's heat, or the lingering warmth of a long day. But the sensation grew. Each night, the warmth seemed to grow closer, more deliberate. It wasn't just heat anymore. It was a presence, subtle, silent, and steady. Like someone had lain beside her, breathing so lightly it never disturbed the air. She would wake sometimes in the middle of the night, her heart thudding against her ribs, certain someone had whispered her name. Nia. Nothing. Only the crickets and the rustle of reeds outside. She told herself it was the river. The river made strange sounds at night. Whispers. Laughter. Once, a lullaby. Everyone in Tongora knew not to pay too much attention to the river after dark. It carried old magic. Ancient spirits. Stories they didn't tell children until they were old enough to fear properly. Still, Nia wasn't afraid. Not at first. She had always felt protected in her hut. The herbs hung from the rafters like sleeping bats. A small clay pot of salt sat by her doorway, a gift from Mama Wura, said to keep bad spirits at bay. Her dreams were gentle, often full of light and warm winds. She awoke refreshed, even if puzzled. But then came the morning her fingers brushed something sleek and strange. She had stirred awake before dawn, her body stretching in that slow, contented way it always did after a cool night. But when her fingers moved across the mat beside her, they met something smooth and wet. Not cloth. Not skin. It was soft, but firm. Ridged. Like the surface of a scaled gourd, fresh from the river. She sat up immediately. Her breath hitched. The hut was quiet. The morning air was cool. The mat was empty, save for her own thin blanket and the dent where something had lain. She stared at her fingers. They tingled. That's when she noticed the faint shimmer on her fingertips, as if something translucent clung to her skin. She rubbed them together, and the sensation reminded her of fish scales, thin and flexible, catching the light. The river's song outside seemed louder than usual. Deeper. As though it had leaned in, eager to listen to her thoughts. Nia's heart pounded. She backed away from the mat and stood, wrapping a shawl tightly around her shoulders. The morning light streamed through the open doorway, casting long shadows across the floor. Everything looked the same. Her clay pots. Her herb bundles. The wooden stool. Nothing was out of place. Except the shimmer on her skin. She scrubbed her hands in a bowl of water, but the sensation didn't go away. Even after drying, her fingertips tingled. She tried to ignore it. She forced herself into routine, gathered her satchel, stepped outside, and went to the forest. But the birds were quiet that day. The wind too. And as she reached for a familiar sprig of norman root, the plant pulled away from her fingers, recoiling as if touched by something foreign. Nia froze. She stared at her hand. The shimmer was still there. The warmth returned the very next night. This time, it didn't just press beside her, it wrapped around her, slowly and gently, like arms pulling her into an embrace. It wasn't cold or threatening. It was warm, coming, even tender. It filled the empty space inside her that she never dared name, the quiet loneliness of being a girl with no family, no past, and no one to share the sound of rain with. But when Nia opened her eyes, there was still nothing. No footprints. No figure. Just the lingering echo of touch, and the quiet hush of the river outside. She told herself again, it's a dream. Just dreams. Still, the memory of scales under her fingers haunted her like a song stuck in her mind. The next morning, Nia took a different path into the forest. Instead of her usual trail by the creek, she climbed the hill near the bamboo grove, where the wind moved like breath through the tall green stalks. She hoped the walk would clear her thoughts. But as she passed beneath the swaying bamboo, she heard the familiar rattling of a god staff. Sitting beneath an ancient tree, blind eyes covered by a strip of red cloth, was Boba Tembo, the village's old storyteller. He never moved from his spot in the grove, yet he always knew who passed by. His hair was silver white, his voice low and heavy like drums before rain. Children loved his stories, adults feared the truths buried within them. "Oh, the girl of herbs walks with a restless heart," Boba Tembo said without turning his head. "Sleep evades you, doesn't it, little one?" Nia hesitated. "You know I'm here." "The bamboo told me." "And the river told them." She wanted to smile, but something in his tone was different this morning. Sharper. "You mustn't lie awake at night wondering who watches. It's not for the eyes, child. It's for the soul." She crouched near him. "What do you mean?" Boba Tembo tilted his head. "The forest knows who sleeps alone. And so do things that no longer sleep." Nia swallowed hard. "What kind of things?" But Boba Tembo only laughed, tapping his staff against the roots of the tree. "They used to be men, some say. Others say they were spirits made of river light and old sorrow. Whichever tale you believe, remember this. When warmth visits you in the cold and leaves no footprints, you're not dreaming. You're being chosen." Before she could ask more, he raised his palm toward her. "Go home, Nia. But tonight, burn salt at your window. Just in case the warmth becomes hunger." That night, Nia couldn't sleep. She followed Boba Tembo's advice and burned a pinch of salt in a clay dish, letting the smoke curl into the shadows of her hut. The scent was sharp, bitter. The warmth didn't come. But the dreams did. She saw flickering lights dancing between trees. Heard music that sounded like flutes made of bone and drums made of thunder. A figure stood at the edge of the river, waiting, cloaked in mist and moonlight. She couldn't see its face, but she felt remembered. When she woke at dawn, her head ached. She rolled over to smooth her mat. And that's when she saw it. A golden scale. Shimmering like sunlight trapped in a droplet, it lay perfectly centered beneath her pillow. It was smooth, almost delicate, but when she pressed it between her fingers, it didn't bend. It pulsed faintly, like something alive. Nia's breath caught in her throat. Her fingers trembled. She hid it immediately, wrapping it in a scrap of cloth and tucking it deep inside a hollow gourd behind her herb jars. She told no one. The days that followed felt strange. Her herb garden, usually modest and slow to grow, began to blossom wildly. Leaves sprouted overnight. Flowers bloomed without warning. Roots doubled in size. Even the rare moon fern, which only bloomed once a year, now glowed faintly beneath the evening sky. Animals began to linger around her hut. Birds perched on the rafters and didn't fly away. A fox sat in her doorway one morning and stared at her, unblinking. A snake slithered across her feet while she gathered mushrooms but didn't bite. It simply coiled around her ankle for a moment, then vanished into the undergrowth. Her dreams, too, deepened. She floated through forest lit by green fire. She heard voices, not speaking, but singing her name in languages she didn't know. Always, the same figure waited by the river in her dreams, reaching for her hand. Always, she woke before touching it. And then came the fever. A young boy from the village, Jomo, no older than 6, fell ill. His mother came running up the path, eyes wild, breath short. "Please, Nia, please help. He's burning up." She followed her through the village to their hut. Jomo was curled on his mat, drenched in sweat, his lips pale and cracked. He muttered in his sleep, tossing and turning. His small hand reached out again and again, clawing at the air. "Nia! Nia! Nia!" When she placed her hand on his forehead, he snapped upright, eyes wide, pupils gold, and whispered, "You don't belong to them yet." Then collapsed back into fevered sleep. The villagers whispered among themselves. Nia could hear it. The glances. The unease. She stayed until morning, gave the boy tinctures and cooled his body with damp leaves. He began to recover. But the damage was done. That afternoon, she returned to her hut to find a small circle of stones arranged outside her door. A sign. A warning. A line not to be crossed. Nia stood in silence. Above her, a bird sang a single, sad note, then fell quiet. Nia could not stay in Tongora. Not when children whispered her name in fever. Not when salt lines and stone circles marked her door. Not when the warmth in her bed had a heartbeat she could almost feel. So she packed her satchel before the sun rose, carrying nothing but a calabash of water, dried cassava, and the golden scale, now wrapped in 3 layers of cloth, hidden deep in the folds of her shawl. Her destination lay beyond the ridge and deep into the sacred grove, where even the most daring hunters dared not step after dark. There, at the foot of the oldest baobab tree in the land, so vast its roots reached like fingers through the earth, lived Mama Luma, the oracle beneath the roots. Few had seen her. Fewer dared seek her. But Nia had no one else to ask. No one else who might understand the strange warmth, the golden scale, and the dreams that left her breathless with longing and fear. The journey was long. She passed fields of whispering grass, crossed streams with no names, and entered forests where the trees seemed to lean closer, watching her. The wind carried hushed voices, never words, just echoes, as if the forest itself was gossiping about her. But Nia pressed on. By dusk, she found the tree. It rose from the earth like a giant remembering its place. Its trunk was wide enough to house a family, its bark older than time. The roots curled around the base like sleeping serpents, and within their coils yawned a dark hollow. A cave where earth and magic tangled. She hesitated, then stepped in. Inside, the air was cool and thick, lit by glowing fungi and candles that burned with blue flame. She passed wind chimes made of teeth, masks carved from bark, and bones arranged in sacred spirals. Then, from the shadows, came a voice. "You've brought the serpent scent with you, girl. Why have you come?" Nia turned to see a woman seated cross-legged on a mound of woven reeds and feathers. Her skin was dark as midnight, her eyes like molten silver. Her hair was wound with beads and bones, and a small snake coiled around her wrist like a bracelet. Mama Luma. Nia fell to her knees. I need to understand. Something sleeps beside me. It leaves warmth and dreams and scales. The villagers are afraid. I'm afraid. The oracle tilted her head and smiled with ancient sadness. You are not cursed, Nia of the river. You are marked. Marked. Mama Luma reached for a gourd beside her, opened it, and poured black powder into her palm. Then she scattered it onto the floor, murmuring low chants. The ash moved on its own, swirling into shapes: a river, a woman sleeping, a cold serpent made of starlight. Then the ash serpent opened golden eyes. You are marked by the Embo serpent, Mama Luma said. An old spirit. One of longing. One of memory. One of hunger not for flesh, but for connection. It finds those who walk alone and makes a home beside their soul. Nia trembled. Is it dangerous? Mama Luma's voice was firm. It is not here to harm. It has chosen you to protect, to claim, and to love. It does not understand mortal ways. It knows only binding. Only devotion. If it has touched your dreams, if it has shared your bed, then it has made a pact, though you may not have known it. Nia's thoughts spiraled, the warmth, the dreams, the golden scale pulsing like a heartbeat in her shawl. I didn't ask for this, she whispered. Few ever do, Mama Luma said gently. But now that it has come to you, there are rules you must follow. She leaned forward, eyes glowing. Never speak its name aloud. The Embo serpent hears its name in wind and water. To name it is to summon it. And it will come, fast and furious, thinking you are in danger. Nia nodded. And never betray it. Do not curse it, deny it, or seek to bind it away. If you do, its love will turn to wrath. And its wrath burns through dream and flesh alike. A silence fell between them. Then Mama Luma reached into a woven pouch and drew out a small, stoppered gourd. She pressed it into Nia's hands. This is night ash and river stone, collected under a moonless sky. If ever you are threatened, by spirit, dream, or waking word, unstop the gourd and throw it to the ground. It will call the old magic. Just once. Nia clutched it tightly. Thank you, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Mama Luma gave her a long look. Be careful, child. There are many who would kill to have what the spirit has given freely. And many more who will fear you for it. When Nia returned to her hut the next evening, the warmth was waiting. But now, when it curled around her, she did not flinch. She lay there silently, hand wrapped around the charm Mama Luma gave her, and whispered into the dark. I knew who you are. The warmth shivered, like a sigh of relief. The moon rose red that night. Not a gentle shade of rust, but a deep, pulsing crimson, like a wound opened in the sky. The elders called it an omen, the burning moon, a sign that the spirit world was stirring. And in the village of Tongora, fear spread like wildfire. By morning, the chief's son, Oba, fell ill. Not with fever like the others. His was a sickness of visions. He thrashed in sleep, eyes wide open, crying out in terror. He spoke in tongues no one understood, until suddenly, he screamed a name. Nia. She sleeps with it. She called it. His words silenced the room. The people turned to each other, then toward the riverbank, where the orphan girl lived alone in her little hut. Whispers turned to shouts. Shouts to footsteps. And by twilight, they came. Nia was preparing tea from river herbs when she heard the shouting. Torches flickered between the trees. A dozen villagers surged into the clearing. Some held staffs. Others raised blades. Fear and anger lined every face. Leading them was Oba, pale and shaking but upright, flanked by his father, Chief Boko, a proud man whose grief twisted now into rage. You brought this curse upon us, the chief shouted. You consort with spirits. You've been marked by a thing not meant to walk with the living. Nia stepped out slowly, hands raised. I've harmed no one. The spirit hasn't harmed anyone either. You admit it, someone shrieked. She confessed, another cried. Children clung to their mothers. Men muttered prayers. Someone threw a stone, it struck her shoulder. She stumbled. Take her, the chief ordered. Hands grabbed her from all sides. Her satchel was ripped from her. Someone seized the charm Mama Luma had given her and hurled it into the forest. They bound her hands with fiber rope, dragging her toward the center of the village, where a judgment fire had already been lit. Smoke curled into the sky. The red moon watched silently. Let her stand trial, Chief Boko said. Let the ancestors hear her guilt. But just as Nia opened her mouth to speak, a sound split the night. A hissing, deep and ancient, echoed from the trees. The torches sputtered. Then the ground began to tremble. People backed away from the fire. The trees swayed though there was no wind. Birds erupted from their nests in terror. The air thickened, not with smoke, but with something heavier, something sacred. From the river's edge came a rippling shadow. And then it rose. A serpent. Larger than any beast ever seen. Its body coiled like a mountain made of water and light. Its scales shimmered like starlight, each one a mirror to the moon. Its eyes glowed gold, ancient and aware. Mist clung to its form like robes, and wherever it slithered, the grass turned silver with dew. The villagers gasped, froze. The Embo serpent had come. It did not strike. It did not roar. It moved with grace, gliding through the village without touching a soul, its head lifting high above the huts. Its golden eyes found Nia, bruised, bound, afraid. And it moved toward her. Oba fell backward, screaming. Chief Boko stumbled to his knees. No, no. The serpent paused before Nia. Slowly, it lowered its head, and with a gentleness that no one expected, it touched its snout to her forehead. The ropes fell away. Then, with slow, deliberate movement, the serpent wrapped its coils around her, not to squeeze, but to shield. Like a fortress made of stars, it encircled her, eyes now locked on the villagers. A single hiss left its throat, not loud, but piercing. The earth responded with a quake that cracked the fire pit. Flames scattered. Torches went out. One by one, villagers dropped to their knees, trembling, covering their faces. She is chosen, a woman whispered. It came for her, murmured another. She walks with a god, said Baba Tembo, who had silently arrived at the edge of the clearing, his blind eyes raised to the sky. And you tried to burn her. Tears streamed down Nia's face. She didn't know if they were hers or if the serpent somehow wept through her. The serpent's coils unwrapped just enough for her to breathe. And in that moment, her voice returned. I didn't call it, she said softly. It came because it loves me. And though no words passed from its golden eyes, she felt the answer. And I will always come. The serpent did not speak with a voice. It entered the minds of everyone gathered, elders, warriors, weeping mothers, trembling children. Even those who had cursed Nia now fell still, caught in a silence deeper than thought. And into that silence, visions bloomed. Not of flame or judgment, but of Nia. They saw her as a child, left crying by the river when her parents died in the fever sleep. They saw her gathering herbs for the sick who would not thank her. They saw her kneeling by the graves of strangers. They saw her sleeping in the dark, whispering to the sky. Let someone see me. Please, just once. The vision cracked hearts open like God's. Tears fell, but the serpent showed no triumph. It was not there to punish, only to reveal. Then, it turned to Nia alone. No words were spoken, but she understood. The message entered her heart like sunlight through leaves. You have been seen. You have been loved. But now you must choose. The villagers watched as Nia stood beneath the crimson moon, the serpent's coils gently unwinding from her. Mama Luma stood at the edge of the grove now, silent and still. Nia's hands trembled. Her breath came short. "Choose," she asked, though the words barely escaped her lips. And again, the answer unfolded within her spirit. "Walk with me into the waters, and join the river gods, become my bride, a guardian of the deep, ageless and free. Or stay with your people, and bear their fear, their superstition, their forgetting. You will never again sleep in peace." The serpent's eyes did not plead. It offered her no promise of ease, only of truth. Nia looked at the villagers. Some still knelt. Some bowed. But she saw the doubt, still lurking behind their awe. She saw the fear that would return when the memory faded. The shame that would twist into superstition. She turned her gaze to the river. It shimmered under the blood moon, smooth as glass. But beneath the surface, she saw more, temples of coral and crystal, lanterns made of jellyfish light, spirits moving like songs beneath the current. She took a step forward. And then another. As the moon climbed to its highest point, Nia walked into the river. The serpent followed, wrapping once more around her waist like a belt of starlight. The water kissed her ankles, her knees, her chest. When it reached her throat, she did not choke. She only smiled. And then, with a final breath, she was gone, swallowed not by death, but by transformation. A ring of light pulsed across the water. The serpent arched into the sky, letting out a final, thunderous hiss that echoed through the forest like a blessing and a warning. Then it too disappeared beneath the surface. The river stilled. The moon faded from red to white. And silence fell. Tongora changed after that. The villagers rebuilt Nia's hut, but no one dared sleep in it. They filled it with flowers. Herbs grew wild there, stronger than ever before. The fever broke. Children recovered. The crops flourished. And the villagers whispered stories around fires, always beginning with the same words. "We once had a girl who loved even when she was forgotten." Every full moon, the people of Tongora bring offerings to the riverbank, carved dolls, dried fruit, necklaces made of reed and shell. They whisper, "Thank you, Lady Nia. Keep our lonely ones safe. Watch over those who sleep alone." And sometimes, when the wind is just right and the reeds are swaying, a hiss echoes over the water, not threatening, but familiar. And those who listen closely say they can see her. A girl with starlight eyes, rising from the water, watching. Still gentle. Still guarding. Still there. The end.